Good evening, Canada. From our platform of Voice of Canada, we have a very dynamic and important VIP guest, Honorable Dr. Ruby Dhalla. So, we would be giving a full protocol today. So, we will be singing our O Canada. So, let rise.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the truth north strong and free. From far and wide, oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Good evening, Canada. We are back with a new episode of Voice of Canada. Your host Asphandiar Wadiwalla, my female co-host Cindy Young. We have a very important VIP guest, Honorable Dr. Ruby Dhalla, with us. We are thankful to her that she, being a candidate of the leadership race of Liberal Party of Canada, she has taken time for us in such a short campaign time she has got. But she came in our studios, for which we are really grateful to her. Welcome to our studios and to Voice of Canada.
Thank you so much.
So, would you like to introduce to our viewers with your name? Everybody knows you are very well known,
Thank you.
but still they would love to hear from your own.
Thank you so much to everyone that is watching Voice of Canada. My name is Dr. Ruby Dhalla, and as was shared, I am running for the leadership for the Liberal Party and also to become Canada's next Prime Minister. I am very excited because this is a monumental time in Canadian history. I am the first woman of color that is running for the leadership for the Liberal Party, and also not only the first woman of color, but also one of the first members of a visible minority that is running to become Canada's next Prime Minister. So it's a very historic event, and I'm so honored to be able to share it, to share it with the Voice of Canada. Mr. Asphandiar is someone that has supported me from when I was first elected in 2004.
It's a moral duty.
So it's an honor to be here with all of you today. And thank you. Nice meeting you as well.
Very nice meeting
Go
you
ahead.
as well. And a very warm welcome to you as well for being on our show today. And I'm Cindy Young, and I'm your co-host for this evening's episode of Voice of Canada. Dr. Dhalla, would you inform us where you were born, and also where did you get your childhood education?
So I'm actually a Winnipegger. I was born and raised in Winnipeg in very humble beginnings. So I'm very proud, to be a very proud Winnipegger, and it was an amazing place to grow up.
Oh, wow.
I received most of my education from there, and then I was actually nominated for a Rhodes Scholarship. But my mom did not want me to go all the way out to England.
Yes.
So I had applied for other scholarships, and I received a scholarship to McMaster University.
Wow.
It was a full scholarship. So I went from Winnipeg to McMaster. And then due to a family situation, I actually ended up coming back to Winnipeg and completing my bachelor degree, both in mathematics and a minor in political science.
That's why you are a big entrepreneur.
Challenging ones.
So I did a whole year of political science and biochemistry and mathematics. So we did a mix and a combination, and I graduated from the University of Winnipeg.
Wow.
Then I got selected after my whole application process. I applied for the chiropractic college here in Toronto, came back for school to the Canadian Memorial Chiropractic College, and never went back to Winnipeg after that.
Wow,
so here I am in Toronto.
Quite the vast education.
Yes.
Lots of experiences. Wow.
Dr. Dhalla, as you are a member of parliament from 2004 till 2011, give us the full account of that period of nearly 7 years.
Well, I'm just going to go back a little bit before 7 years,
You can go.
but I
Definitely.
was,
Definitely.
when I was in high school in Winnipeg, I went to an inner city high school, and I applied for a program called Forum for Young Canadians. And Forum for Young Canadians invited young students to go out to Ottawa to see how government functioned. And I applied for the program. I got accepted. And one of the criterias to be able to complete your acceptance was that you had to go see your local member of parliament and get a donation of $100. So I didn't know who my MP was, but being in Winnipeg, I just wanted to go away, to be able to go to Ottawa to see how this program worked. And my guidance counselor actually looked for, and researched our local member of parliament. My mom did not drive, so I remember taking 2 buses with my mom.
Wow.
Determined.
You're a self-made.
On a
Truly
Saturday
self-made.
morning, and he had given us an appointment for 8 o'clock. So we had to leave bright and early because we were on the bus for a good hour and a half to get there. And we went to see my local member of parliament. And I remember he had a small little sort of waiting area. And my mom and I sat down, and he came to see me, and he said, "How can I help?" So I explained that I had been selected for this program and I need your help. And he says, "What do you need?" And I said, "I need this $100 donation." So he says, "Yes, not a problem." So I thought, wow, this is really easy. And then he says, "There's a but." And then I said, "What is it?" And he said, "I will contribute, this donation of $100. However, you have to come and volunteer." So again, like an enthusiastic student, I said, "Not a problem." But he made me volunteer every single Saturday for almost a whole year.
And then gave you the credit certificate?
Well, I don't know about that, but here I am still volunteering all of these years later.
Wow.
So I would volunteer with him. So everyone else would be like watching cartoons or sleeping in on a Saturday. And I would have to get up bright and early, to go to his...
So you are disciplined from your early age.
I had no choice. So so we had...
That means you were born star.
Thank you. So we went to his constituency office, and I would volunteer, and he started me off with like cutting newspaper articles of the issues that were impacting, impacting our riding. And then I got sort of upgraded to, okay, now you can answer the phones. And then I got involved with the riding association. So I started my dedication
from the grassroots level.
From the grassroots level. And then fast forward, we had a leadership for Paul Martin. And at that time, most of the people were supporting Jean Chrétien in that leadership. My MP, David Walker, was one of the only MPs supporting Paul Martin. So at that time, we had something called a delegate selection meeting. So we would elect delegates from every constituency to go to the convention. And everyone I remember was running for Chrétien. I was one of the only people that was running for Paul Martin, and I was, I don't know, like 15, 16 years old. So I remember, like old school of campaigning, it was like the old typewriters. So I wrote out this quote, I wrote out why I should be elected, and I handed these flyers out to everyone that came for this delegate selection.
Today you are in a good mood, so you told us your
experience,
how you started
I was the only delegate that was selected, from a Paul Martin camp to be able to go to Calgary. That's where the convention was.
That's amazing.
So I did that, and that's how my sort of journey began in politics. And then I ran for the Young Liberals of Canada.
It was the valuable year of 2003.
I'm getting there, but you gotta know this.
When you went to Bollywood.
Because people think that you just kind of get elected, and I'm like, no, I've actually, I've put in my time, like every weekend. And so I worked my way up through the party ranks. I was involved with the Young Liberals of Canada as a director of multiculturalism, director of youth, when multiculturalism really wasn't talked about, diversity wasn't talked about. So then after that whole process, I also did work with the senior party. So fast forward now to 2004, what you wanted to know about. I got a call from the Prime Minister's office at that time saying that they were looking for a candidate. Me being the eager, enthusiastic person, I had been organizing, and being a very strong promoter of women. I suggested some names, and they said, no, we would like you to run. I said, okay. So I had just graduated as a doctor, and we had a clinic in that area. And I ran my first election in 2004, and it was very exciting, not only for myself, but I think for so many cultural communities across the country. It was exciting for young people. It was exciting for women across this country, because there wasn't, a lot of women involved. There wasn't a lot of people involved from cultural communities. And when I got elected, which was June 28th, 2004, I was one of the first women of Indian origin,
from the
elected, Indian origin elected, not only in Canada, but the entire Western world.
Wow.
And we actually had a chance to make history,
Definitely.
But it wasn't even my history. It was the history of all of these, immigrant families and these women and these young people.
Everybody was proud of you.
It was just so exciting. And he has been there from day one. So I am so grateful for this support.
Always there. Go ahead. So, will you like to give some more account during your period of 7 years? Any more exciting things that happened?
Oh, lots. I could write a whole book. But so I got elected in 2004 and was reelected in 2006, 2008. I did another election in 2011 when we had the big Liberal defeat at that time. And every one of my elections, I'll start with the first one, which is a quick story I'll share. I remember... there was a lot of excitement across the country. Some people were upset and other people were super excited that we had this young woman running, for political office. And I remember taking a look at our volunteers, and most of them were men. So then I went to my mom, and I had other people on the campaign, the few women. They're like, why do you not have more women from, the Indian community helping out? And why do you not have more women from like other diverse communities? So I said to my mom, I really need to just call a volunteer meeting and talk to everyone to get more women. And my mom was so nervous. She's like, I don't think you should do that because we don't want to lose these volunteers. Like, what if they get upset? And I said, Mom, let me just call this meeting, and I'm going to thank them, and I'm going to announce something as well. So I called this volunteer
meeting.
You're
a timid sort.
No, I wasn't timid. That's why I called the meeting.
You are very good.
At the
meeting, like a strong person.
It's important. So I called this meeting, and I, thanked everyone immensely for all of the time that they had putting in. And I said, tomorrow we have a new rule in the office. And they said, great. They said, what is this new rule? I said, starting tomorrow, if you do not bring a woman with you, so that's your mom, your wife, a girlfriend, your sister, your daughter, any other woman. If you don't want any of those, just find someone and bring her in. If you do not do that, you have to pay $20 at the door. And then they're like, oh, okay. I'm like, I'm going to increase that amount. They're like, no, we'll bring, a woman with us. And it was so incredible.
You had a leadership qualities.
To see all of these women just get involved. And by the end of that first campaign, we had women that just took over the leadership roles. But more than that, like in some of the cultural communities, there's not necessarily that connection sometimes with the father and the daughter. And the fathers would come and actually bring their daughters. And then that just created this family outing that they would do. And
so inclusiveness.
So now when I meet people, they're like, you know what? You changed our lives because you changed our family dynamics and our family relationship. So that was one of my most precious stories that I take.
We'll be taking a short break, and we'll be back with you soon. Welcome back after a short break. Your host Asphandiar Wadiwalla, my co-host Cindy Young. For Voice of Canada, we have a very, very important guest today, Honorable Dr. Ruby Dhalla, in our show. And we are truly proud of her. She made time for us and came to our show.
Thank you so much.
Welcome back. Go ahead, Cindy.
Dr. Dhalla, recently via press and TV, we came to know that you were one of the candidates for the leadership race of the role of Canada, which we've talked about.
To be the Prime Minister of Canada.
Yes, to be the Prime Minister of Canada. What made you run for the leadership candidate?
I think it's about time to have, a woman and a woman of color and a woman from a cultural community, elected as Canada's Prime Minister, and also to ensure that our country and our party reflects what the reality of Canada is. But more so than even that, when I took a look at all of the candidates that are currently in the foray, each one of them has been involved with a current administration. Either as ministers or MPs or as advisors.
They are from the caucus members.
And in addition to being involved, they have also been the ones that have been involved in developing the very system right now that is broken. And now, it's confusing to me because they actually want to go in and fix it. So I was like, we need to fix our system.
Definitely.
We need to start fixing our party to help bring it back to the center. Canadians and our country are facing so many challenges, and they tried for the last 10 years and couldn't do it. I really felt that we needed to have someone who is a fresh face with a fresh vision, fresh ideas, who's going to be able to engage and inspire a whole new demographic. And ultimately, I believe when I entered the race that we need to have a leader and a prime minister who can win and who can beat Pierre Poilievre and the Conservatives. And given my experience as a healthcare provider, as a businesswoman, as a 3-time elected member of Parliament, who has not been involved with the current administration, myself and all of the thousands of people that called across the country, we all felt that I was the right person to take on, that leadership.
But being a well-known personality, not only in Canada, internationally also, so people will definitely accept you.
Thank you.
Dr. Dhalla. Now, the most important question our viewers would like to know about your election agenda or manifesto for this current leadership race. So please explain in detail each point and what is your agenda.
You've asked a very important question. And as we shared earlier, that Canadians are going through many challenges across the country. I think one of the most important fundamental rights of being a first world country is that every citizen in our country should be able to have 2 fundamental rights.
Correct.
Number 1, putting a roof over their head, and secondly, being able to put food on their table.
On the table, which is
and when I hear, heart-wrenching stories of people who are unable to buy a home because it is unaffordable.
Home is out of question these days.
They're out of question.
Out of reach for most people.
And not only for, first-time buyers, but even for people, that are middle-aged that want to move, the unaffordability of that has just gone through the roof. And there is, to me, it's unjust to live in a nation where that is happening.
Absolutely.
And then you get onto the issue of increased food prices. I was a daughter of a single mother. And I know firsthand the challenges and the struggle that one has being able to put food on the table. And when I hear of stories of so many families, sometimes of single mothers, other times of both of the parents are working, but they're still struggling. To me, it is a sign that we need to do things differently in our country. So the unaffordability of housing, the increase in food prices, and it even goes down to the increase, inflation that has impacted people, like our cell phone prices. They're some of the highest in the world. So you get onto that, then you deal and grapple with the issue of the crime that is occurring. Why is it that people do not feel safe, in our communities to be able to walk around in the evenings, or to even leave their car on the driveway. Someone was asking me about crime and how all of these cars are getting stolen. And I said, listen, I'm one of the people that it happened to. We woke up in the morning and there's no car on the driveway.
Oh my God.
And, so, yes. So when you experience those types of issues, right, you know that we need to do things differently. And then the fourth part of the platform is also dealing with immigration. I'm the daughter of immigrant parents. I was born here, but my mom came to this country in 1972.
Wow.
And they came, she always says, for wanting her children to live that Canadian dream. But when I see that we've had immigration that has been, I would say, unplanned, and an influx of immigrants that have come in who have built our country, have we taken a look at our infrastructure across the country, whether it relates to housing, whether it relates to healthcare, whether it relates to the creation of jobs? And I just announced yesterday that one of my first initiatives will be, if you are here illegally, if you have committed a hate crime or done any violence and you are not Canadian, I as Prime Minister will ensure that we deport all of those
Definitely.
illegal immigrants.
Illegal
You
people.
know, if they have not come here by legal means, we cannot be a safe haven to criminals
Right.
that are not
Definitely,
Canadian any
definitely.
longer. So
Absolutely.
there are these types of issues. And then on an international level, which you mentioned, you know, Asphandiar, I've done a lot of work internationally.
Definitely.
10 years ago, when we used to travel internationally and used to say that we're Canadian,
Mhm.
people used to say, wow, you're
Wow.
Canadian?
Very
And
much
And
so
they
much
had
of high
this great
respect and
deal
regard.
of like
Yes.
respect
Respect
and
around the
regard.
world. Yeah.
And, you know, I was talking about growing up in Winnipeg. Lloyd Axworthy was the
Mhm.
Minister of
Oh,
Foreign
yeah.
Affairs.
Yeah.
And Canada's, you know, value system, Canada's positioning
Position, yeah.
on issues of human rights, of peace, were so respected and revered
highly
Through the whole
appreciated.
world.
world.
Whole
People
world.
would wait to
Absolutely.
see what Canada had said.
Yes.
And now, let's forward 10
Yes.
years later. And when you go fast forward 10 years later,
Mhm.
you know, it hurts me to say this, but I'm sure many Canadians, you know, agree
It's not
with
the same
me.
anymore.
It's not the same.
It's not the same.
People are laughing and
No.
they're like, oh, what's happening
Yeah.
with your government or what's happening with your prime
Yes.
minister? And I do not want us as a country, when we have so much potential,
True. Very
so
true.
many incredible people, so
Yes.
many phenomenal stories, I will not accept our country being made a laughing stock
No,
of. It is
absolutely.
unacceptable to
Yeah.
me. And I know that as prime minister, I will work to
Definitely.
build relationships globally with some of the emerging economies, with
Mhm.
other up and coming economies, including our partners down south,
Mhm.
to ensure that we gain our respect back. Because if
Definitely.
people don't respect you, they won't
You
listen
lost
to you.
everything.
Listen
Right.
to you.
So it
Mm.
has to be build a relationship, strengthen those
You gotta
bonds,
be strong.
then get them to respect you. And when they respect you, they will start listening to you. So it is ensuring that we get our respect back.
Back.
And when we do, that actually benefits Canadian workers.
Yes.
It benefits our manufacturing sector.
Definitely.
It benefits our entrepreneurs.
Everything.
You know, we always hear in the States, we want to have buy in America.
Mhm.
Well, as the Canadian Prime Minister, I want to ensure that we start showcasing Canada.
Canada.
We start showcasing Canadians, Canadian products,
Products.
and our great country.
Definitely. Definitely. Dr. Dhalla, I would like to add one question here. That do you think we must have a overall police reforms to be changed? Because currently the reforms are so weak that the person commits a crime and next day is on bail.
Mhm.
So one of you'll be hearing more about it, but I, you know, have been saying that if you do the crime, you need to do the time.
Time.
Mhm.
Because if we do not have stringent, you know, laws, people are going to think, as you said,
Mm.
oh, you know, we will go out and commit a crime or steal a car or,
Next day
you know,
you're out
commit a
on bail.
robbery and we'll just get out the next day, you know, because we're going to be
Yeah.
bailed. So I think we need to take a look at concepts like bail
Concept,
reform.
bail
We
reforms,
also,
immediate
there's another act called the Habitual Offenders Act for
Mhm.
people that are habitually, you know,
Yeah.
reoffending.
committed into
So
crimes.
we need to ensure that we look at reforming those,
Mhm.
and it can't just be talk. We need to get the
Get
job
those
done,
done, yeah.
because
Something
every
about
day
it,
that goes
yes.
by, there's more and more criminal activity
Yes.
happening. And I think when people who are criminals know the consequences,
Then they
okay,
would deter
they're
from.
going to actually think twice about what they're doing.
Yeah, definitely.
And they know, as you said, oh, we'll just go out and commit the crime and we're going to get out in
Next
2
day
days.
they're out. Can you
Yeah,
believe?
they are. Yeah.
Or they just don't catch them. So,
Yes.
you know,
they're
and our
helpless.
police, you know, services and police forces across this country are doing an amazing,
job.
incredible
Amazing job, but they are helpless.
But
due
they're
to
helpless,
laws.
But they're
you know.
Laws are weak.
So they're working really hard, but then we don't have laws to support them or the
Right.
resources. So we need to do a complete, you know,
breaks down.
reform and really, really just get tough on crime, have a no-nonsense approach, because I think the safety of families, the safety of young people, the safety of seniors, and even when someone is in their home, they need to feel safe.
Definitely.
And they need to feel
And that's
secure.
what we came to Canada.
Yes.
Hear more and more home invasions.
Go ahead.
You know, yes. Dr. Dhalla, post-pandemic era, which started from 2023, brought its own issues on Canadians, of which you have actually addressed some of them now, due to which our economic conditions got worse each passing day. Several hard issues hit Canadians: massive inflation, unemployment, health policy with overwhelmed, severe shortages of housing, massive car thefts, which we talked about, robberies, gun violence. What is your intake of the above issues for Canadians?
And most
undergoing
important is
these?
the healthcare is
And-
going down.
Yes.
Our hospitals are unable to accommodate and give us the facilities of.
That was one of my reasons for running as a healthcare provider. You know, I have had great insight into, I would say, the crisis of our healthcare
Mhm.
system.
For sure.
When
It's huge.
I hear of stories and see people going to hospitals and having to wait for
14
hours and
Mississauga,
hours and
14
hours, you know,
in
in the
emergency.
hallways,
To
and
get
they're
any
lying
care.
there, it's just really, really, you know, unjust. And
For sure.
Not
my
fair to Canadians.
yes, you know, my own mom had to go in about 5 or 6 months ago, and we
Mhm.
had to spend all night waiting. And you
Wow.
know, there's
Yes.
this anxiousness, but it's
Mhm.
for everybody. So I think that we need to take a look to see how we do things differently. And
Yes.
then when people need an appointment with a specialist, they're having to wait, you know, months and months. And our doctors are,
Sometimes a
you know,
year.
working around the clock trying to keep
Mhm.
up with the number of patients they need to see. And there's only so many hours in the day.
Yeah.
And so we need to take a look at the system. And that is one of the major sort of learning points, I think, that not only came out of the pandemic, but that has continued to escalate.
Yes.
Because to be honest, I was elected in 2004,
Four.
and I sat on the Committee of Health. And
Mhm.
many of these issues that we're facing
there
today
back then
were
too.
also there in 2004.
Four
So now we
also.
progress
Yeah.
like 20 years later,
True,
and
true.
we're still talking about the same issues. So we need to have a frank conversation in the country,
Yes.
you know, of ensuring that people get access to healthcare
Healthcare
services.
services.
And the one, you know, also avenue that we need to look at is the healthcare service delivery that we're giving to the First Nations communities in Canada.
Mhm.
You know, no one has touched
They
upon
have
this for the
always
candidates
neglected.
yet.
They have been
But
always.
it, to me, is just, you know, again, unjust. It is absolutely shocking that
Shocking.
people, if they
Yes.
were to find out that so many of the people that built our nation, the First Nations communities, do not even have access to clean drinking water.
Yeah,
Yes.
if you go
And
to that
there
areas.
are, you know, water advisories that are issued in many of these reserves
Mm.
that the First Nations communities live on, because their children and their families and they themselves, you know, cannot turn on the tap and get the water. And
Potable
how
water.
is it that we live in a first world country that this is happening, you know, and we are spending a lot of money, you know, investing in other places of the world. I think the focus needs to be on Canada,
them.
for
Mhm.
Canadians,
Mhm.
and even an issue like boiling water, you know, advisories that are being issued. This is unjust. Every single person in Canada, especially our First Nations,
Absolutely.
you know,
Absolutely.
members and our First Nation communities,
Mhm.
each of them deserve,
Full respect.
rightfully so, they deserve respect, but they also
100%.
deserve the basic human right
Rights.
of having clean drinking water.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Dr. Dhalla, you must be aware that nearly 37% of Canadians don't have a family doctor. They can't get a family doctor, which is quite surprising and sad to note.
Yes.
And those are the things that I think we need to change. And that's where I think having someone who is a healthcare provider, who is a self-made businesswoman, who has actually been a 3-time elected member of parliament, you know, someone like myself who has insight into all of these. And I think when you've lived the experience, when you have faced those challenges and those struggles, you can just relate to people.
Mhm.
And when you relate to people, you understand what they're going through. And when you understand, you can develop the solutions that we need to develop to ensure that we don't just get talk, but we actually get action.
Absolutely.
Dr. Dhalla, we pray to Lord Almighty that you win this leadership race of Liberal Party of Canada. But at the same time, have you given a thought that once you win this leadership, you will have to win an MP seat also?
Yes.
So any riding have you selected?
We've looked at a few ridings,
Mhm.
and we will be having conversations in the coming days and the coming weeks, you know, for that. As I shared, I've been a Liberal since the age of 14, and
Wow.
I look forward
Born
to...
Liberal.
Many
Yes,
years.
born and raised Liberal. But it's very important that we're not only electing the leader of the Liberal Party or the next Prime Minister of Canada. We need to ensure that we are electing, you know, the leader who's going to take on the fight, someone who has, you know, the fire, the passion, the knowledge of having run and been in election campaigns, and someone who's ready to take on Pierre Poilievre, and someone who's ready to win the Conservatives.
Vision for Canada, for sure.
Go ahead, Cindy.
Dr. Dhalla, how can anyone forget what a massive setback the Dhalla family suffered due to the sudden loss of your beloved brother, and late Dr. Neil Dhalla? who is a pillar of the Dhalla group and managing all the affairs of your family. So please accept our heartfelt condolences from the whole team of Voice of Canada.
And we are with you always to
Yes.
support you. That was God's will.
Yes.
We all have to bow our head in front of Babaji's will.
Yes. Would you mind saying a few words about this sad event that had happened in your life?
That was the saddest
It
event
was
in our life.
probably the most tragic,
Yeah.
event that I've ever been through, and I get emotional even when I talk about it now.
course.
But he was the man of our house because we lost my father at a very young age, and both himself, my mom, and myself, we were like best friends, and we spent a lot of time together. And when you go through a tragedy like that in life, it just really teaches you about the fragility of life.
Fragility of
We talked to
life,
him one minute,
reality
and the
of
next
life.
minute, he was gone. So we never had a
Yeah.
chance to say goodbye. But I remember him in so many ways, and the impact and the influence and the legacy that he left. You can come into our office and it's amazing.
True.
You're never remembered by, what you built or what you have or how many buildings or what cars
he
you
was
drove or
always-
anything. You're only remembered by your good deeds.
Good deeds,
And
true.
I remember shortly after he passed away, a family friend of ours, a social worker, she came to, see us and was at our house during that time and said, I have this story that I need to share with you about Neil. And she said that she had gone to see, one of her clients because she
Mhm.
was a social worker. And that person was a single mother with a young baby. And she called up my brother Neil afterwards and she said, I just saw a really, really sad story that I went to see this mom and her bed was completely full of bed bugs.
Wow.
And she said that Neil listened and she said, but it's just really sad. It's going to take a few weeks for the mattresses to come. And the next day she received a call from, the client, from the woman. And the woman said, she was thanking the social worker and said, I can't believe that this mattress was going to take 2 weeks to
Mhm.
get and that you got it the next day.
Next
Like,
day.
it's so amazing.
See,
And she then, when she went to, find out, she was trying to recollect who she had told the story to, she realized that Neil, without telling anyone, had these mattresses delivered so that the single mom with the baby,
it's
You
true. A
wouldn't
lot
be
of
able to-
humanitarian
Heart
work.
of gold.
so if you come into our office, like even our cleaner, as an example, has been with, our offices for the last 17 years. We've had
Wow.
other staff for the last 20, and he just made this incredible impact on people's lives. And it's just such an
Special
incredible
person.
legacy that he just motivated people. And one of the reasons that I'm here today to be able to carry on this path is he always believed in the book, The Secret.
Mhm.
And his life philosophy was based on our Sikh faith.
Mhm.
And it was man niva mat uchi,
Wow.
to always live life humbly without ego.
True.
And his life philosophy was also based on the book, The Secret. And for anyone that hasn't read the book, The Secret, you need to read it because it is just so true in every essence.
Mhm.
But the essence of the book, The Secret,
Mhm.
is ask for it, believe it, and receive it.
Receive it.
And
Wow.
it was those three sort of pillars that, he just manifested. And every Friday night we would have these vision board get-togethers where we would make our vision board of, what we foresaw. And as I was starting off this journey, we were looking through some mementos that my mom had kept. And in grade 5, when the teacher had asked me, what do you want to be when you grow up? I actually wrote, I want to be the Prime Minister of Canada one
Canada.
day.
See,
So it's, going
That
back
was
to
your dream.
Yeah.
it was going back to my
And-
brother's life philosophy. When you manifest things,
Yes.
Mm.
it just ends up. And so I'm so proud to be my brother's sister. And for the
He was your
time,
mentor.
he was.
Was
He was
always
an incredible
mentor.
person. So it's,
Incredible.
he's greatly missed. And
God.
God must need good people. So
Yeah.
But we still feel his soul in the office. Whenever we visit
Yes.
his office and his room, we feel he's with us.
he always is. So we
Be
can't see
strong.
him, but I know that he's
Our
always.
message
Thank you.
is only to you is remain strong
Yes.
because you have got a mother
Yes.
who
But
needs your
everyone
support.
that suffered grief, I had
Yeah.
a lot of people reach
Yeah.
out to me, and we all face adversity. We all
Yeah.
face challenges and tragedy in life, and it's just so important to be able to keep moving forward.
Definitely.
And, you know, that's how,
Because life doesn't end over that.
no,
We
this
have
is the
to
circle
move
of
on,
life, you
and
know,
he will
and
be feeling
no matter
much
who
happy
anyone
seeing
is,
you.
yes, no
And
matter,
he's blessing you
yes.
Doesn't matter who
from
you
heaven.
are.
Doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, you know, this is part of the circle of life. And that's why it's so important to honor the people that we love by keep on moving forward and living every moment to the fullest.
True,
Absolutely.
true. We are about to sign off our today's episode of Voice of Canada. We would like to thank Dr. Ruby Dhalla
Thank
for
you.
coming into our show, because she's so busy these days, she has no time to even look up from morning till
No,
night.
I'm always looking up because I thank
Yeah,
God every day.
Yeah, no, that's great of you, and you are noble. So we wish you all the very best.
Thank you.
And we wish that you win this leadership race. And we are always there for you, as and when if you've got any breaking news, anything you want to do, our show is always open for you.
Thank you.
Just pick up the phone and inform us, and you will be there.
Thank you. Thank you so much to, you know, both of you for your interview, and it was such a pleasure to meet you. And I think that, you know, the Voice of Canada plays such an important role in bringing forward issues that are impacting Canadians, of being the voice for so many Canadians across this country. And I hope that I will have your support and
Definitely.
also your blessings.
Always there.
Because you always need blessings of everyone to be able to carry on with this journey, because we're going out to make history by electing the first woman of color and the first Indo-Canadian woman as Prime Minister of our country.
So would you like to give a final comment, remarks in Punjabi? Because Punjabi people would love to hear
They
you.
would? Okay. ਸਾਰੇ ਜਾਣਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਤਿ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਅਕਾਲ and ਨਮਸਤੇ। ਅੱਜ ਮੈਂ ਇੱਥੇ ਵੌਇਸ ਆਫ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੰਟਰਵਿਊ ਕਰਨ ਆਈ ਹਾਂ, ਐਂਡ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਖੁਸ਼ੀ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਐਸ਼ਪੰਦਰ ਹਰੀ ਨੇ, ਜਦੋਂ ਮੈਂ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਵਾਰੀ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਲੜੀ ਸੀ 2004 ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ, ਉਦੋਂ ਦੇ ਮੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਨੇ। ਸੋ ਜਿੰਨੇ ਵੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਭੈਣ ਭਰਾ ਵੇਖ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ, ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਦਿਲੋਂ ਥੈਂਕ ਯੂ ਕਰਨਾ ਚਾਹੁੰਦੀ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਜਾਣੇ ਨੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਥ ਦਿੱਤਾ, ਬਹੁਤ ਸਪੋਰਟ ਦੇ ਰਹੇ ਹੋ। ਤੇ 2004 ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਦੋਂ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਵਾਰੀ ਜਿੱਤ ਪ੍ਰਾਪਤ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀ, ਅਸੀਂ ਉਦੋਂ ਹਿਸਟਰੀ ਕੈਂਪ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀ, ਬਿਕਾਜ਼ ਮੈਂ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਆਪਣੀ ਇੰਡੀਅਨ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਤੋਂ ਜਿੱਤ ਪ੍ਰਾਪਤ ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀ, ਸਿਰਫ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਰ ਸਾਰੇ ਵੈਸਟਰਨ ਵਰਲਡ ਤੋਂ, ਸਾਰੇ ਵੈਸਟਰਨ ਵਰਲਡ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਐਜ਼ ਅ ਮੈਂਬਰ ਆਫ ਪਾਰਲੀਮੈਂਟ। ਤੇ 21 ਸਾਲਾਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਮੈਂ ਬਸ ਇਹੀ ਰਿਕੁਐਸਟ ਕਰਾਂਗੀ ਕਿ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਫਿਰ ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰੀ ਦੁਬਾਰਾ ਮੈਨੂੰ ਆਪਣੀ ਬੇਟੀ ਸਮਝ ਕੇ, ਆਪਣੀ ਭੈਣ ਸਮਝ ਕੇ, ਆਪਣਾ ਇੱਕ ਪਰਿਵਾਰਕ ਦਾ ਮੈਂਬਰ ਸਮਝ ਕੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਪਲੀਜ਼ ਫਿਰ ਦੁਬਾਰਾ ਸਾਥ ਦੇਵੋ, ਸਪੋਰਟ ਕਰੋ, ਤੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਾਰੇ ਜਾਣੇ ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰੀ ਫਿਰ ਹਿਸਟਰੀ ਕੈਂਪ ਕਰੀਏ। ਤੇ ਮਾਰਚ 9 ਨੂੰ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਵਾਰੀ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਸੀਂ ਹਿਸਟਰੀ ਕੈਂਪ ਕਰਕੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਆਪਣੀ ਇੰਡੀਅਨ ਕੁੜੀ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੀ ਦੇਸ਼ ਦੀ ਪ੍ਰਾਈਮ ਮਿਨਿਸਟਰ ਬਣਾਈਏ ਤੇ ਲਿਬਰਲ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਦੀ ਲੀਡਰ ਬਣਾਈਏ। ਅਸੀਂ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ, ਅਸੀਂ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਜਿੱਤ ਪ੍ਰਾਪਤ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ। ਇੱਕ ਵਾਰੀ ਹਿਸਟਰੀ ਕੈਂਪ ਹੋਏਗੀ, ਪਰ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸਾਰੇ ਜਾਣਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ, ਸਾਰੇ ਜਿੰਨੇ ਵੀ ਆਪਣੇ ਭੈਣ ਭਰਾ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਰਹਿੰਦੇ ਨੇ, for all Canadians, they will have in them a leader who understands them, who will stand up for Canadians, and who will fight for Canada, because Canada's comeback is going to start now. Thank you so much.
With that final note from Dr. Ruby Dhalla, we would be signing off for this week. We'll be back next week, and we will be showing this interview on Saturday, the 1st Feb at 8 p.m. So don't forget to watch Dr. Ruby's Dhalla, which is going to really rock.
Thank you.
So we would like to say good night, goodbye. God bless Canada. God save our King.